And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday, the 6th day of July, 2016. I do want to try to take a lot of phone calls today and not just sit on top of the calls or let individual callers go too long. I really want to give longtime listeners who don't want to sit on hold and who want to just quickly sound off on Hillary, setting the precedent that there is a ruling class that is the new royalty and is above the law. You can welcome to sound off on Obama, calling her diligent and the best person to be the president ever. Hours after the FBI director talked about how horrible she is and how negligent she is. The FBI director looked like a deer in the headlights yesterday. I went back and watched the 15-minute speech he gave, and he looked scared to death. Absolutely scared to death. And then gave a really bipolar statement where he comes out and she's absolutely horrible and lied about everything, but prosecutors wouldn't indict her for this or wouldn't go to the grand jury with this. What? The lying to federal officers alone, there's like 15 cases of that. The ordering her girlfriend to cut the top off and other staff of the stuff that said top secret, the secret. I mean, you have her. Just tampering with those documents is a frickin' felony. And then it hit me when I was watching the nightly news last night from home with, it was Leanne and David Knight doing a segment. We're going to play a clip of it coming up where they talk about the fact that, and this is the one thing I haven't covered, and it's the biggest issue out of all of this. And every time I think I've covered every angle, I realize I haven't covered half of them, because I thought of a few more after I saw David talk about this and Leanne. They have persecuted whistleblowers and the press unlike anyone in history. I mean, we've covered that, but not the fact that they use the handling of secret documents and the handling of national security documents and national security information as the main way to persecute people when it's not violating national security to expose illegal spying or parallel construction by the DEA or informants framing people or a Fox News reporter talking to an undersecretary of state about, do you believe North Korea really has multiple atomic bombs? You should be able to say, yes, we believe they have it. Of course they have it. So you've got just the absolute misuse of it to persecute free speech and whistleblowers, and then you've got Hillary engaged in spades, a royal flush of corruption, and nothing's being done here. So that's one angle I haven't hammered, and it just, I did get nauseous. I mean, I don't just say that. Everyone I know said they got a bad feeling in their stomach yesterday, and I really went from being really happy yesterday morning, long weekend with the family, out at the lake with friends, Rob Dew and his wife and kids, my cousin Buckley and his wife. Pat Riley was out there with us with his wife and friends. We had a great time out on his boat, out on neighbor's dock. But I tell you, then I just started really realizing this is actually a defeat for the globalists because they're having to really show how corrupt they are. And even liberal media is turning against them now and really just going, this is sick. In fact, this is something that finally has some of the Zombo left going, what? Look at all the people they prosecuted for far less, not just Petraeus. I think they jumped the shark on this one. We're going to come back, get into all the news, play some powerful clips. We've got the enemy in our sights. The global fight against the private corporate worldwide tyranny known as the New World Order is going extremely, extremely well. Time is running out for the globalists. Their entire program is being exposed. Not just their plan to take control of the planet, its resources and populations, but their end game, their final solution, their eugenics planetary program is now beginning to go mainstream. And I sit back with extreme pleasure seeing our talking points against the globalists and our research against the globalists coming out in literature, in fiction, in nonfiction, in media, in sports, in culture, in news. I love hearing terms that I coined being used by the mainline conservative talk show host. I love hearing the even controlled left adopting my vernacular. And it's not just my worldview. It's the globalist worldview, but from a perspective of someone against it. So I want to just say something out of the gates before we get into all this news today. It was disheartening not to see Hillary Clinton get indicted. She certainly deserves it. They've persecuted the press using these secrecy laws. That's one of the biggest reasons I think she should get in trouble, and one of the biggest reasons, one of the biggest points that hasn't really been covered properly. There's an article out today that actually gets into that from Wayne Madsen, Infowars.com reporter. He'll be joining us at the start of the third hour. Joe Biggs will join us from the border with breaking news there, and Pastor Manning's with us in the second hour. We're going to have open phones with Pastor Manning as well. But I want to say something. The only way the globalists can win is by divide and conquer. Now, if you are a black person who has been discriminated against or been harassed or been pulled over for driving while black or whatever, you have some real issues and real reasons to have a chip on your shoulder. And there's reasons white people have to have chips on their shoulders. And there's reasons Hispanics have and all the rest of it. But all of these issues are played up to be much bigger than they really are. So the larger world can be basically obscured while we're down here in the smoke fighting with each other. And I know you know that. But we know they have bots, and we know they have hired technicians, and they have operatives that cause a snowball effect on message boards and comment boards and in the culture to push a narrative of everyone fighting with each other. And then the central government comes in and plays the part of the organizer, the referee, to stop that infighting. But I'm going to just say this, and I'm going to move on to the news. I don't care what color you are, or where you live in the world, or what your religious background is when it comes to this question. The globalists are targeting you, whether you're a Jew, whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Hindu, whether you're a Buddhist, whether you are a Zoroastrian, whether you are a devil worshiper, whether you are an animist, whether you are a Rosicrucian, whatever you supposedly think your worldview is, the globalists have a plan for you. And they've been testing weaponized media, weaponized food, weaponized medicine, weaponized water, weaponized air, and it's declassified. A lot of it isn't, but just what is declassified is so mountainous. The secret testing that's been declassified in every country of the world. It's crazy. And again, they use divide and conquer to control this. Almost every time they come out and announce that they tested weaponized polio or weaponized syphilis or weaponized bird flu or weaponized Zika or weaponized Lyme's or sterilants in the tetanus shots, they always end up announcing that they got caught doing it in Africa or in some Central Asian country or South America. And then it's just kind of in the news. Oh, we apologize for injecting the Tibetans. Or we apologize for injecting the folks in, say, Chile. Or Hillary was 2 years ago, she came out and apologized to Peru for injecting the population. She didn't do it, but earlier people did. But she apologized as the State Department head for our government secretly injecting Peruvian llama herders, not hurting anybody with syphilis. It was the women that trusted the government would go into the clinics and get the shots. I mean, what type of freak, evil people pull crap like that? You have any idea how painful syphilis is? How degenerative it is? It's basically microscopic worms that start eating your brain and other organs. That's what Lyme's disease is weaponized, tick-borne syphilis. That's another little treat they gave everybody. But let me give you a little newsflash. In the really declassified stuff you can pull up, they tested on white communities, Hispanic communities, they tested on everybody, folks. But when they announce it usually or declassify it, it's always how they're doing it to the Pakistanis or the Peruvians to kind of play to the scientific elitism that's in the left of, oh, we're just controlling population, wink, wink. I can't tell you how many times I've had leftists go, okay, yeah, we saw your film Endgame. Yes, there's some covert population control going on. There's too many people. What are you going to do, Mr. Jones? And I'm like, well, you should go out and blow your stinking head off yourself or slit your wrist in a bathtub. Oh, no, no, no. You've got to oversee the playing God and poisoning everybody. And the truth is, they're like a cat playing with a mouse. They're not really reducing population. The globalists and the Royal Commission brought in worldwide policies in the 1950s. This is all declassified to cause a ballooning population because they wanted that to actually threaten the West and later be able to cause global conflict to bring in the current world government we are seeing forming. Then they said they will mop everybody up. Everything you've seen so far is testing on people and getting ready. So I want to tell the white racists, the tribalists, the black racists, the Hispanic racists, the Asian racists, all the little cult tribal groups, okay? Let me explain something to you. When you play along with your little race game, whether the left is controlling it or the right's controlling it, and God, it's hard not to because the whole political system's like this, and you've got to address it. So you play into it whether you want to or not, but when you consciously play into it because you think you're winning, because you're in your group, and you think that's what's going to empower you, you've let the globalists win because all of humanity is under attack by the New World Order for all intents and purposes. According to the Kissinger Group, there are 6,000 global minions that work for less than 20 families. And I, again, had Rothkopf, head of the Kissinger Group, on. During the break, he goes, you're one of the 6,000. We're ready for you to join us right now. Fly to New York next week. But it's going to be off record. I said, John Harmon, you just hear that right now? This guy's trying to buy me off. Oh, now come on, Alex. I agreed to come on here. I thought you'd be smart enough. Come on, let's come on, have a friendly. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna get off here. After you'd already been on about 30 minutes. I said, no, come back, Rothkopf. But that's just one case I can tell you about because the guy didn't say up front this is off record until he wanted me to go to New York off record. And I said, no, it's not off record. You screwed up, buddy. Because as a journalist, if somebody tells me something off record, if it's not a criminal activity, I can't ever talk about it or I blow my entire capability to get information off record. It'd be like if I was a cop, a detective, and I was just exposing who confidential informants were all day. I wouldn't get any information very, very quickly. And most people are so flattered to have the elite try to get them to join them. You know, I was just talking to Steve Pieczenik last week, and most of the talk was off record. This part of the talk wasn't off record. And he was breaking down a bunch of different angles and stuff and talking about CIA penetration of the Army and how they're trying to deal with that and the rest of it. And I think I talked, that wasn't off record. But he just said, listen, Alex, you don't have to worry about them coming after you for the time being because there's so many people in the power structure that aren't part of this larger prosperity takeover who appreciate what you're doing, and you are seen, and what was weird is I've been told this by a bunch of other people, you are seen as America, like you're an archetype of America and a piece on the chessboard now. As a player, you're now part of the establishment. You're just a good part of the establishment. And I'm not up here bragging saying, oh, look, I'm part of the establishment, because you're not the only person that's told me that. You have to understand, it doesn't mean I sold out to the establishment. You, as our listeners and supporters, are really Alex Jones. I'm just a symbol, a focal point of that, like Ron Paul talked about. It wasn't Ron Paul. It was the movement. He was just a focal point, just like Pat Buchanan was or a Donald Trump today. Because we aren't selling out, we will become the establishment if we start winning. So many patriots think, oh, we're just going to lose and hide in our basements and wait for a civil war, and oh my gosh, we don't have any power. No, if we act like winners, have the truth, promote prosperity, promote free market, promote true unity. There are a lot of people across the political spectrum that really don't want to have a civil war, don't want to have war with the Russians, and don't want to be a bunch of scumbags. And so all